Yo, hey, what's going on everybody? Alex with you here again as usual. Thanks for dropping by for yet another chess video. It's always great to see you guys. Being that this might be my last video before the holidays, I want to take a moment to wish each and every one of you guys Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, whatever holidays you celebrate, and wherever you end up being, I hope you're surrounded by family and friends and you have a good time. And of course that maybe you get to play more chess during the holidays and just be safe and healthy. In today's video, I wanted to briefly talk to you guys a little bit about some of the offline, standalone, independent chess sets that I have reviewed on my channel within the past several years. If you've seen a lot of my other videos, you would probably know that I'm actually all for having online chessboards with online capabilities, because I just feel like a lot of these online chessboards, for example, like the Chessnut Go, the Chessnut Air, Chessnut Pro Chess Up, DGT Pegasus, Millennium E1, things like that, they offer a lot more than some of the offline chessboards. For example, this Karpov Teaches Chess, or for example, the Millennium Chess Genius Pro. The online chess boards give us so much more for our money. But you know what I've been actually noticing recently is that although chess companies like the Chessnut, the Chess Up, they sell boards all year round, it's precisely during the Christmas season, during the holidays, that I've seen that there's a trend of people looking for offline chessboards. A lot of parents out there during the holidays are looking for the perfect Christmas gift idea, and chess sets, especially electronic chess sets, may be something that's on their radar. They might be thinking, hey, my child's spending way too much time playing video games, watching TV, especially when it's cold outside. Why not get them a nice chessboard for Christmas, something that they will enjoy for years to come, that will be great for their brain development and entertaining, maybe, you know, taking places somewhere, or just be an overall excellent gift idea. The reason why people might be looking for chess set as gift ideas for the holiday season being offline is that they don't necessarily want to have any strings attached, so to speak. They don't want to give somebody a gift which requires a cell phone connection or an iPad connection. They want something that can be gifted and put under the Christmas tree, that you can just take out immediately and start playing, maybe after just putting the batteries in. They don't want to have a hassle of having connection issues or problems. They want to have something that's ready to go right out of the box. So in today's video, I'd like to briefly talk about different offline chessboards, or at least chessboards that can be used without any type of a connection to a cell phone or an iPad, things that are ready to go almost out of the box. Some of the chessboards that I'll be talking about today I no longer have, but I have reviewed them on my channel, and I will leave you guys a link below, so check them out independently if you guys want to watch those videos and kind of get a little bit more detail as far as how the chessboard functions and how it looks. But we're gonna go ahead and start off by, I'm gonna talk about the Millennium Chess Genius Pro. So before making this video, actually I was under the impression that I purchased that board for $100 on Amazon. It wasn't until I actually went back and looked at my orders that it ended up being that I actually purchased it for $197. The current price range for the Chess Genius Pro is somewhere between $149 to $159 as it stands today. On Amazon, it's $179. On House of Staunton, it's $209, which House of Staunton is always running some kind of promo chess deals, but I feel like they up the price a little bit. So once you apply like the 25 or 30% off, it ends up costing approximately the same price that you would get it elsewhere, but maybe people feel better once they apply those sales coupons and what that's readily available, that all of a sudden they feel like they're getting a better deal, maybe. Although I don't actually have the board in my hand because I ended up giving it away. Some of my chessboards, in fact, I have given away or sold because there's a lot of redundancy. I have a lot of different electronic chessboards, as you guys know, so I just can't keep them all. It's just running out of space. Some of the key advantages of the Chess Genius Pro, in my opinion, is, first of all, it's got a really nice screen that's really bright. The interface is very simple and easy to learn, easy to follow. It is a standalone system, so once you put the batteries in and turn the system on, it's ready to go. You don't have to plug it in to any phone or anything like that. There's a lot of different difficulty levels that can be adjusted within the interface. It is compact and light. It uses batteries and of course can be taken places due to its overall compact size. I actually have a second system right now that I've seen recently, the Millennium Chess Genius Pro, the wooden edition, and I've been meaning to get my hands on it to make a review. I just haven't had the time, but once I do, I'm going to definitely talk about it more. It is retailing for $200, so there's a little bit of a price increase, but not really much. Some of the disadvantages, of course, that I've noticed with that particular system is, although the computer seems to be working relatively fast, outside of the opening move somewhere during the middle of the game, sometimes the computer takes a little bit more time to think on its moves, and sometimes it can feel a little bit annoying because you expect that a lot of these AI or computer systems will think just like this. It's usually humans that take longer time to think, but in this case, what I've noticed is when I was playing, especially in some difficult situations, the computer did take a lot of time to think, sometimes more than a minute. The squares on the board were a little bit small compared to some of the other boards. The pieces themselves weren't very big either. I'm an adult. For some kids it might not be really an issue. I felt like the board overall was a little bit small. I will talk a little bit about this Karpov Teaches Chess here in just a second. This one here, of course, is even smaller. So compared to this particular design, the Chess Genius Pro is bigger and it does feel a little bit more free. It doesn't feel as cluttered. The Millennium Europe Chessmaster and also the Karpov Teaches Chess that you see right over here is kind of like the smaller, less expensive version of the Chess Genius Pro, with some advantages and a lot of disadvantages. So the advantage, of course, here is that although it's a very compact system, it can still provide you a relatively good chess playing experience, especially at higher levels. The disadvantages of this board here is that, unlike the Chess Genius Pro, the screen here is actually one of the older design screens. It's not a color LCD screen. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to see. It is a little bit harder to navigate here because the screen doesn't change from the actual like square design here. So basically maneuvering through all these side buttons here to adjust your difficulty levels and go through the settings and things like that can be a little bit more difficult. I found it a lot easier to navigate through the interface of the Chess Genius Pro. And if I had to choose between this, even though this particular chess set retails, like I said before, for about $60 to $80, so a lot less expensive than the Chess Genius Pro, if I was looking for a gift idea for a child, I definitely stick with the Chess Genius Pro compared to this. I would spend the extra little bit of money just because the interface here is a bit clunky. It's a bit hard to learn. It's not as easy to see. Another disadvantage here is that the board itself compared to the Chess Genius Pro is a little bit smaller. Pieces are even smaller. They are a little bit easy to lose just because of how small they are. And it feels a lot more cluttered here on the board. So when you're playing the game, sometimes you do have that feeling of like, I really wish I had a little bit more space. Even I think for a child, these boards are a little bit too small. So moving on to the next board, let's talk about something a little bit bigger. DGT Centaur, actually one of my more or less favorite offline chess boards. I gave it away to a friend who wanted to play more chess. So I no longer have the DGT Centaur, but I'm gonna leave you guys a link below to where you can actually see me review that board. The DGT Centaur retails for somewhere between $325 to $400 depending on where you look. Amazon has it for $352. On House of Staunton, it's currently $399, but probably with the additional sales, you can bump that price down to maybe around $330. Chess House, it's $369. Some of the advantages of the board was the fact that it had pretty large squares. In fact, the squares were large enough to be essentially almost tournament size. The pieces too were very large, easy to handle. You had plenty of space on the board. It had a very solid engine. Although it was using an older version of Stockfish, it was still very fast. The processor inside was fast enough to compute all the different moves. You didn't have to wait too long, like the Chess Genius Pro, you sometimes had to wait. With the DGT Centaur, usually things went pretty quickly. There were some instances where I had to wait a little bit. It had many different difficulty levels and it was really easy to adjust. The interface was easy to maneuver and very quick to learn. The indicators on each individual square were very bright and you can adjust that brightness level. The board itself, although it was pretty big, it was actually pretty light and very easy to transport. Together with the DGT Centaur carrying case, that actually made a very nice package to where you could take it places. Now, the disadvantages, of course, were that the DGT Centaur did not provide any online play, and which at the time I did talk about that, given that the price tag of the board was relatively moderately high. I kind of wish that the board itself had some online play, but thinking back now and having so many different online chessboards and offline chessboards, I feel like overall for what it was designed to do, to be an offline chessboard and give you a good solid offline chess playing experience, I think that it did it pretty well. I think that overall I kind of wish the price was a little bit lower, maybe somewhere in the price range of $250 possibly, not $400, but still overall a very solid board. The other disadvantage, of course, is I felt like the AI, the chess engine itself, gave you solid play, especially at higher difficulty levels. In fact, at higher difficulty levels, it made it really difficult to beat, but at lower difficulty levels, like once you go down further towards the beginner, I felt like the AI worked in making a lot of blunders, and those blunders felt like giveaways sometimes. So a beginner might be getting their bearings around, you know, how to be better at chess, and then at a lot of times when you're playing your game, you could see that the engine itself would purposely blunder and give you pieces away, and that sometimes can take away from your overall experience because you still want the chess engine to perform solid and well and not give you blunders or give away pieces just because it's at a lower ELO level. You want that sort of a still very competitive gameplay. It seemed like there was inside the chess engine, there was like the beginner, and then there was like the expert, and then somewhere in between where you felt like I'd still like to get a really solid experience, maybe at an ELO of 1200. Sometimes it felt like you're playing something either way above or way below, so I would like to see the chess engine itself maybe being updated to have a more rounded experience. Speaking of rounded playing experience, I feel like the board that had the best AI computer out of the box playing experience was the Millennium King Performance chessboard that you see right over here. I think that this board overall had one of the best computer experiences, and I'll talk briefly about that. This board retails for somewhere between $350 to about $450 depending on where you look. House of Staunton, it's actually $550, and I think that was the price that I paid. I paid around $550 for it, which is a little bit of an overpayment, but I did apply a lot of different codes and coupons, so I probably ended up getting this somewhere for $390 or something like that. Chess House has this currently at $430. Let's talk about some of the advantages briefly. So as far as I've said before, this probably has one of the most excellent AI computer systems out here, and I think that when I purchased this, that was the main selling point of this particular board. It had a really sound, excellent AI, great playing experience. I've noticed that no matter what difficulty level you choose with this board, you're always going to have a very competitive play. So if you choose a very beginner ELO, they will still play with you really well, and it feels like you're playing against a human more so than with any of the other chessboards because they don't blunder as much. Maybe there are some inaccuracies, some mistakes possibly, but no like straightforward blunders. It doesn't take away from the game, and it's always challenging you no matter where you are in your chess experience. It always feels challenging, interesting. There's some moves that this particular board does that really don't feel like stockfish. It feels like a human being. It feels like, okay, well, let's try this particular thing. So sometimes there's some advantages to that, and it feels like it's a more rounded game. And overall, the experience that you get playing this particular board does feel more human-like because there's some things where you're like, I've never would have expected the computer to be taking these particular ways or shortcuts or whatever. Another advantage I feel like is there's, within the difficulty level adjustments, there's also playing style. So you can choose aggressive play, passive, defensive play, so depending on what you want, and that will be reflected in the game. If you want the chess engine to be doing more risky moves, you can choose more aggressive play style. The screen here, although it is a little bit small, it is still bright, and with all these side buttons here designed in the way that they are, it's actually relatively easy to go through the options and the settings and set the game to the way that you want. So in my opinion, although it's a little bit of an outdated interface, it's still relatively easy to learn and relatively easy to maneuver for both a child and a parent. Just takes a second to learn, but then I feel like after that it's pretty easy. Now, I feel like the Chess Genius Pro had probably one of the easier interfaces for a child. But this still can be learned relatively quickly. The disadvantages of this particular board is that the chess pieces themselves, which were wooden, they don't have any magnetic sensors. They don't have any sensors in them really whatsoever. The way that the board utilizes the chess pieces is that you basically have to physically push into the squares with the piece itself. You take the piece that you want to move, you have to push it firmly into the square itself. There is a sensor inside that actually registers, it makes a beeping noise, and then you put the piece where you want to put it and then push into the square. Again, it creates redundancy. And another thing that I'm kind of concerned with is because you're firmly pushing into these squares, I wonder how long it would last as far as how many games can you play before maybe one of these little pushing things starts to not register or gets broken inside or whatever. Things happen, but because, like I said, a lot of other chess boards, electronic ones, you don't actually push into them, you just move it or slide it or whatever. It seems like it wouldn't be an issue, but here you're really physically pressing into it, so that takes away for time when you're playing. And like I said, it also feels redundant. The only thing that I think about that is that because you're pushing and confirming essentially by pushing that this is in fact the piece you're gonna move, and then pushing again, there's less likely that you're going to accidentally push another piece or whatever, or if you knock into some pieces because they haven't been pushed, there's no harm done. Then you just put the pieces back and you can just, you know, continue your game. In fact, the way that this board works is that you don't actually have to have pieces. You can just push on the piece and push on the square, and it'll register as if you moved the piece. It's an advantage because you can use other pieces that you want. You can, as long as you know the size of these squares, you can buy whatever pieces you want. You don't have to stick with the pieces that were provided with the board, although the pieces that were provided were the best ones as far as the size, okay? Another big disadvantage with this particular board is that it does not have an internal battery. At least my version doesn't. Maybe they've updated their version and created a battery. I'm not really aware of that. It has a special Millennium connection here, this rounded little connector that you have to actually physically plug in, and then plug in that connector to the wall. And although I tested that, I had a meter that checked how many watts it uses, it doesn't really use hardly any watts at all. They do sell an external battery module. The only problem with that, I would like it to be just kind of something that can be fixated onto the board, possibly, that could save some space. Instead, it has a big wire and then it has a block. So that's another thing you have to worry about. You have to worry about charging the block. And then when you're playing somewhere, you can't really put this readily on a table and not have to worry about where is the block going to go, especially if the table is small. Then you don't have a place to put your block, or the block is hanging off the table. So that can be a little bit of a nuisance for some. For the price, I think that they should have included an internal battery inside. It is a standalone offline chessboard. There is a module that you can also purchase separately that will allow you to connect this board online, as I have done a video on that before. The only problem is once you do connect it, it still has the same disadvantages. You still have to have it be drawing power from somewhere, and you still have to have the pieces being depressed the way they are. The interface here is a little bit tricky to get into online play. And then of course you need some kind of a phone or some kind of a device to tether with that module, so that way you can get that online playing experience. I feel like the original design of this board really didn't take into consideration any online play, so it was strictly designed for offline play, in my opinion. I feel like if they are going to sell you a board for close to $500 like this, they might go ahead and include that in a battery module and the online module for that price within the box, because it's in today's day and age with so many online boards, that could be something that should have been part of the design. Or better yet, just include a battery and an online module inside, redesign the bottom part here, make the screen a little bit bigger and make it an LCD screen, and everybody would be happy overall. Make the board to where you don't have to press the individual pieces. Keep the chess engine inside the way that it is, because everybody loves that part, and then we can go from there. This board is going to be smaller in size to the DGT Centaur, but definitely bigger than the Millennium Chess Genius Pro. So that kind of moves us on to something a little bit more expensive, but something that possibly may solve some of these features with and kind of bring everything together. We've seen me review this product many times before, but once again, just for the sake of this video and the completion of this video, I'm going to show you guys this particular board. This is the Chessnut Evo. Now, this is the only Chessnut board that I'm aware of right now that it can be a standalone board that does not require the use of a cell phone or any type of a device for you to be able to play. It sort of brings together all the advantages of all the other boards that I've talked about, and has very little disadvantages besides maybe being a little bit more expensive. But I do believe that Chessnut is currently running a holiday sale, so do be sure to check out their product lineup. This can be used together as online and offline. It has its own internal chess computer and a large LCD screen, which essentially is like a connected tablet that works together with this. This can be used online and offline. However, some of the online features may be disabled if you're completely in an offline environment. There's a variety of different chess engines, and additional chess engines can be downloaded. It has a very strong processor. So some of the things that we've seen, like for example with the Chess Genius Pro, where it was taking a little bit longer time to think about its moves, usually I have not seen this board ever really take any longer time that it's necessary to, regardless of what move that it's making, possibly because it is drawing some of those calculations from online in some of the previous games, but also just because it's a very strong board with a very solid chess engine. It's more of a chess computer than anything. It does have an internal chess battery, as we noticed, so once that's charged up, you can take this board anywhere. There is definitely plenty of features for the money with this board. Not only can you play chess games, you can watch tutorial videos, you can do analysis work, you can browse the web. Of course, as I talked about this board before, it does have an individual chess piece recognition, so that's a very big advantage for people that are looking to use this board for analysis. Basically what that means is each piece is registered for what it is, so no matter where the pieces are put on each square, it will register. For example, if you put a king on a certain square, it will say, yes, you put a king in fact on that square and not any other piece. And that's great and makes life a lot simpler in a lot of situations. The only disadvantages that I see with this is it is a little bit more expensive. Sometimes it's harder to find and can be on back order because there's a higher demand for these Chessnut Evo boards. It can seem a little bit more involved for people compared to, for example, the Chess Genius Pro. The Chess Genius Pro is, take it out of the box, put the batteries in, and you're pretty much ready to go. Maybe make a few adjustments, to adjust for the difficulty levels or playing style, and you're good. With this here, you have to turn it on, possibly make a couple of updates, create your profile, tether it to your online accounts, create an account to play your career mode. And there's a lot of stuff in here, and of course, like I said, it's a lot of features for your money with this particular product. And if you're buying this for a Christmas gift, which is a little bit expensive for a Christmas gift, but I feel like the child's going to be pretty happy overall, but it's a little bit complex to get into, and make sure that you're going to be there to guide them and to make sure to teach them about all the different things and aspects that are available on this board. I kind of wish it had a little bit more features though, for the fact that it is more or less a chess computer with this large screen and all these capabilities online and offline. I almost feel like it could have a lot more features, simply because I feel like it has the potential to have a lot more features, a lot more applications, but I feel like it's not necessarily a fault of the board itself. It's more of my own personal expectations, because if you're going to give me this board that is essentially a chess computer, I'm going to have more expectations. I'd like to have this and that. I want more apps. I've talked about this before. You know, there's apps that are out there perhaps that are not yet supported by this particular product, and I want them. I want all the apps out there. I want the iOS and the Android. I want everything out there. I want apps that I haven't used for years, simply because my expectations are higher, because I wouldn't necessarily have as many expectations, for example, from the DGT Centaur, because you can't download anything onto it. I mean, you might be able to do a firmware update somehow, but you can't do much else with it. So my expectation of a DGT Centaur is take it out of the box, you know, charge it and ready to go. And I don't expect it to do anything else than play chess. When the product is advertised to do everything, almost, you know, and wash your dishes possibly, you want it to do more. So that's a personal kind of expectation sort of thing, but I feel like that, you know, and of course, this particular board would be a little bit more future-proof for years to come if you're looking for something that has more ability to be upgraded and things like that. So each one of those boards that I've talked about today, it kind of fits into different price categories. The cheaper boards being, you know, the Europe Chess Championship chess set, this Karpov teaches chess here. It's going to be the least expensive chess board that I've mentioned today in this video, about $60 to $80. Not the best option. If I would recommend, probably just step up a little bit higher and go with the Chess Genius Pro if you're looking for this particular design. Chess Genius Pro is about maybe $149, $159, a little bit higher. If you're looking to get something bigger and maybe something a little bit faster, DGT Centaur, pretty good board. But then now you're getting into the 400 price range. And if you're looking for the best offline chess playing experience, this was great. A little bit outdated nowadays and a little bit expensive. $500 is almost the amount that basically you're going to be paying for the Chessnut Evo. In fact, I haven't checked the prices recently, but I think that given the holiday sales, I think that the Chessnut Evo is definitely discounted. So that's basically my brief synopsis of all the different offline, essentially chessboards or chessboards that don't require a cell phone or an iPad or anything. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it informative, please be sure to leave me a like. Comment below. I do wish that I could review more boards. I know there's some third-party brands. I know there is some European chess brands that are also making offline chess boards. And when I do get a chance to review those, I'll definitely make some specific videos to those boards. But until then, hope everybody has a great holidays. Hope everybody stays well. And I'll see you guys in the next video, okay? Bye-bye.